What you just watched was vision released from Israeli police as they carried out an operation rescuing 2 hostages within Gaza.
The 2 Israeli hostages that were kidnapped by Hamas on the massacre of October 7th are now home. The hostages, aged 60 and 70, were held captive in harsh conditions. They were intentionally held in the middle of a civilian neighborhood inside a civilian building to try and prevent us from rescuing them, but we did. Fernando Marman and Louis Hare are now home in Israel. They have undergone medical examination and have been reunited with their families. This rescue mission underscores the importance of our ground operation in Gaza, including Rafah, when conditions allow. 134 men, women, children, and elderly are still being held hostage in Gaza. We have a moral obligation to bring all our hostages home, and that is an obligation that we will continue doing everything in our power to fulfill.
The IDF carried out the rescue mission, freeing 2 hostages that were being held in the southern Gaza city of Rafah.
Rescued after 4 months in captivity, the Israeli military says these men, 61-year-old Fernando Simon Marman and 70-year-old Louis Hare, have been rescued from a residential building in Rafah. Israel says the men were kidnapped by Hamas from kibbutz near Yitzhak on October the 7th. They are only the 2nd and 3rd Israeli hostage to have been rescued in what the IDF says was a complex operation.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has praised the operation, but there is growing international pressure on Israel to stop its planned ground offensive in the city. At least 67 Palestinians were killed in the attack, many of them women and children. That's according to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry. The director of the CIA has arrived in Cairo for talks about a possible ceasefire deal. He'll meet with negotiators from Egypt, Israel and Qatar as Israeli forces prepare its assault on the city of Rafah in southern Gaza.
As Israeli forces intensify their attacks on southern Gaza, both sides are reportedly inching toward a new ceasefire agreement. CIA Director William Burns is in Cairo Tuesday, meeting with Israeli, Egyptian, and Qatari officials, trying to hammer out a new deal. The key elements would involve a pause in the fighting for at least 6 weeks and the release of the remaining hostages held by Hamas in exchange for hundreds of Palestinians in Israeli prisons.
We're actively working for peace, security, and dignity for both the Palestinian people and the Israeli people. And I'm working on this day and night.
Diplomats are hoping the 6-week pause will lead to a more lasting ceasefire, but there are still big sticking points, including Hamas's repeated demand that Israeli forces withdraw before the hostage release takes place.
They've been constructive and they've been moving in the right direction. We want to get those hostages home as soon as possible, and that work is going on.
And time could be running out. Israel is soon expected to launch a major offensive in the southern city of Rafah, where more than 1 million Palestinians have fled since the fighting started. With the Israeli military under intense pressure from from the international community to limit civilian casualties.
There is absolutely no safe place in Rafah anymore, and the fear is that the number of people killed and injured might again significantly increase.
President Biden calling for a two-state solution as part of any broader peace deal. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that is a non-starter.